It looks like we're good. I'm very conscious that there's no video playing, so thank you both for coming tonight. That was great of you to both come along. Thanks, Mum and Dad. This is a talk. This is the second of two talks, actually, talking about how Drupal can take you from chaos to somewhere else, beginning with C. Obviously, it's not very far, but there are two other talks all about chaos and somewhere else. So this is the first of those. Content chaos. We've all built websites like this, and it's totally possible to build a website in Drupal like this, where pages are built one by one. Every page is different. Navigation is hinted at by the menu alone, and relationships between different pages are set up via links. All the lists are updated manually. Certainly my first ever website is very much like this, written in Vi in plain HTML. These sort of websites are completely unmanageable at scale. Who am I talking about chaos? Hi, I'm Duncan Worrell. My job title is Technical Client Services Manager, and I work at Zucha. I've been using Drupal for about 17 years. My job is really these days talking and writing about Drupal to clients. It's a brilliant job. I guess I'm doing it now. I write lots of articles as well, and we'll talk about one of them later on. But what it really means is my job role is to try and help clients maximize their value from Drupal. It's a privilege to work in the open source community, and I think we're all very lucky to work in it. AI slides, images anyway. Let's go on a journey that avoids chaos, reveals the power of structured content, which we'll come back to, realizes Drupal's full potential, maximizes design efficiency, accelerates build timescales, improves product accuracy, enhances projects and teams, and to eventually arrive at clarity. We want to try and do that in less than 20 minutes. It's probably 15 minutes by now. Structured content. Structured content is all about consistency and reusability. It's all about scalability, which we've already talked about a little bit. And it's also about improving SEO, workflows and content management in the general sense of things. What it means is that sites are easier to maintain and are also extensible, which is a word I love in Drupal. And structure is important, certainly within Drupal. I would argue that managing structured content is probably Drupal's biggest superpower. What I'm talking about structured content, hopefully everyone in the room knows what I'm talking about. We're talking about content models, aren't we? We're talking about content types and vocabularies and fieldable entities, which is a great thing, and relationships between those different entities. It also means, certainly since Drupal 8, that Drupal is very much API first. That means we can create headless websites using Drupal as a back-end thing that actually manages the content. We use something else on the front end, often React or something like that, Vue.js. It also means we can manage multi-channel publishing. So we can publish not just a website, but to screens for advertising and things like that. And of course, it also means we can now train AI on our content models, and AI is getting very good at that. So a content model is really important. That's true whether you're using AI or Drupal core, Drupal CMS, or Canvas. This is the only slide I've updated this week since I've been to other things. I think it's really important to highlight that whether you're using Drupal core or CMS, or you're using Canvas, or you're using AI, having a really good understanding of how the content model works in your Drupal website means you can make better use of Drupal. Like I say, it's truly Drupal's superpower. And also, this is the only slide that mentions AI. Although some of the images may be AI generated. The Drupal Content Architecture is a document. You can call it what you like if you adopt this methodology, but we called it the Drupal Content Architecture. And it's a document that goes beyond simply documenting the content model. It's a blueprint for clarity. It turns what's in our head into a shared vision. It creates a single source of truth, and it avoids those, oh, I thought you meant moments, which we've always enjoyed. It drives excellence, builds teamwork, encourages shared ownership, and it drives alignment across all the teams. So that's right from UX through to design, build, and of course test. So the DCA is the vehicle for collaboration, hence the picture of the bus earlier on. The DCA's aim is to drive collaboration. So the UX phase is an opportunity to discuss additional possibilities. And many UX people are wonderful at UX. I'm a huge proponent of UX. I think with UX you get the website you need, not the website you thought you needed. I love that phrase. But UXers don't always know about Drupal. They don't always know what's possible in Drupal. They're not Drupalers. You know, they're often working at a company that happens to use Drupal. That's certainly my experience. Not so much Rizucha, but certainly in the past that was the experience. Designers, probably less so. They're the one step closer to the developers, so they get an idea of how Drupal works. But that can also be true. I talked about in my notes, which I haven't written down, this is all off the cuff, I know, it's amazing. And we talk about design hand grenades. We've all had that when we've worked at agencies, when your client has engaged a design agency to create you a design, and the developers look at it and they go, oh, this is so hard in Drupal, it's an absolute nightmare. We hate that. So involving, using the DCA all the way through the UX and the design phase, certainly the design phase, what we're doing really is maximising our efficiency. Build, it's primarily a build document, so it really creates this really clear blueprint for the development. Test, the benefits are a little bit more reduced, but basically means that because these discussions have been going on throughout the actual project phase, that when you get to test, the testers already know what this website is supposed to do, and it's written down. So the DCA is not just a document, it's an ongoing conversation. Let's quickly whiz through the four main phases that we're talking about. The UX should involve other teams. What UX are doing really is just discussing things with stakeholders, with users. What they should also be doing is having those internal conversations as early as possible, because those things can feed into the workflow. So at this point in time, the UX team should be talking to the design team to discuss layout and interface ideas. They should definitely be talking to the build team to incorporate these technical opportunities that Drupal brings that they might not be aware of. And they should also be talking to test. There's nothing worse than getting to the end of a project and going, oh yeah, when you get to test and test going, oh yeah, that was a nightmare last time. Let's try and avoid those things. And so what we're doing at this point is refining all this discovery through further user research and prototyping. And of course, we want to do that at the beginning of the project, not when we've got to the design phase or the build phase, and heavens forbid, the test phase. So what we're doing here is maximizing Drupal's strength in content management. So the DCA allows you to realize the full potential of Drupal. The draft DCA at this point is pretty drafty. It's got lots of holes in it. This is just an example. We've got 4 content types, pretty trivial. The underlined sections are talking about some entity references, so the news has got a sort of cross-site tagging system we're going to use, and the event has an event type. So we've got some vocabularies, we've got event types and tags, just with some examples to give us a flavour of what these these vocabularies might contain. It's pretty basic right now. I would call that the basic content model. We get to the design phase. We're still talking and we're still listening. The web design involves turning research into visuals. I wouldn't say pretty pictures in front of a designer, but that's what they're producing, isn't it? Pretty pictures. And to ensure the design matches the requirements and is viable in Drupal. And what they need to do is talk to other teams before sign off with clients. There's nothing harder than showing an amazing design to a client who get totally on board with it, absolutely love it, share it with the stakeholders because it looks really nice, then to be told, actually that's really hard, we don't want to do that. It's really hard to backtrack on those conversations. So again, the designers, they're still talking to UX to ensure those key goals are clearly understood. We're talking to build, to revise designs in line with Drupal's capabilities. That's really important. Design don't always know what Drupal's capable of. Some things that sound hard when you describe them are really using Drupal, we know that. And also test, again, this is exactly the same thing, we're avoiding previously troublesome solutions. And so this phase allows us to consider design revisions now and include further user research with the UX team if that's necessary. So the DCA at this phase maximizes efficiency. There's a really important checkpoint at this point, I think, where it's very, very easy to look at a design, any one of us, and go, oh, that looks really cool. What we need to do is look at that design and go, well, hold on a second, where does that come from? What's that from? What's that do? And I think unless you do that, and this is where the DCA came from me, was being given these designs from designers who never had to design for Drupal before and just not getting what was hard and easy in Drupal. So it allows you to perform a rigorous review of every aspect of the design. You can look at every component and every field critically, and you can identify and clarify anything that hasn't been designed. It gives you the opportunity to enhance designs through further functional suggestions, and you rework now rather than later to save effort. So there is no easier way to derail a project than trying and failing to adhere to designs that are hard to implement in Drupal. And I think we've probably all been there. I'm not going to go through this whole slide, it's massive. These are some off-the-cuff suggestions that some of the things you could be thinking about. Have a glance through, we're going to quickly go over 4 items here. Can this design be implemented by reference to the content model? Where does this thing come from? Are date formats consistent? I've seen designs where every single page type has a different date format. At the top of this article type of page, is that the creation date? Is that the publication date? Or is that the date of the last revision? How are related content cards determined? Often you'll see related content cards at the bottom of a piece of content. And it's like, well, how are they related? Is it site-wide tagging? Oh, well, we haven't got that taxonomy, we need to build that in. Can other content types be tagged with that same taxonomy? And if so, well, you've only got designs for one of them, so we now need designs for 3 of them. And the last one here is, this looks simple, but is technically complex. That is the single biggest thing that saves you time when you're developing a Drupal website. Sometimes it's simply just swapping 2 fields around. And that blows my mind sometimes. We achieve the same outcome with less effort. The client doesn't care. Exactly the same functional output. The DCA at this point is a little bit more complicated. We can go further. So we've got all our content types, all our fields with data types and requirements. Are they optional, mandatory, multiple values, single values? And then we've got some functional notes on design clarifications that we've got. And then we've got a completed taxonomy, and we've got all our content relationships in place. So I'm just concentrating on the news content type here and vocabularies. So here we've got headline, and we know it's mandatory. That's sort of obvious. We've got a teaser image now, which you didn't realise you needed. But of course, it's on the card, so we need some sort of image related with the news. We only need one, but it's obviously, in this case, it's mandatory. Might not have been. And the author is going to actually relate to our person type, because the people who are authoring stuff are also always people in our organisation. And of course, we've decided to use the publication date, so let's just make a note in there that we're going to use a publication date module. We know it exists. Vocabularies, event types are simple. They're just literally a list of items. We don't need any description for any of that. But tags is going to be slightly different. We're going to have each of our tags at the bottom of a page. They're going to be clickable, and they go to a taxonomy page. It'd be nice to have a description at the top. Unless you write these things down, they just simply won't get done. The build phase. Like I said, the build phase turns research and design into a website, and the DCA is primarily a build document. I would suggest it's probably owned by the internal product owner, a tech lead, the chief architect, whoever basically sees that project right from the start from the start right through to the end. But still talk to UX. You still want those people available in case there's something that doesn't quite make sense. Like, why are we doing it this way? And there might be a very good reason why you're doing it that way, but you need to understand why. Design, keep talking to them, because there'll probably inevitably be missing designs. And test, of course. So test will actually want to start building up their test scripts at this point. So what the DCA does, it massively accelerates build. And it's also frictionless build. So the DCA allows the build phase to progress with clarity and so at speed. Junior developers can work independently from confidence, with confidence. Literally, like, follow the DCA and build all the content types. It's so easy. That also frees up the senior developers to work on the complex things. There's a clear content build dependencies between front end and back end. Also, you often need to create taxonomies first, because they're often things that get referenced by content types. And you can start preparing early for testing. It also allows for a much easier handover, I hate that phrase, to the website post-launch. The test phase is pretty trivial. It's literally this is the slide. But that ongoing collaboration throughout every single part of this process means that the QA team know what they're doing when they start testing. Beyond the content model, there's a whole load of things you can do to level up that DCA. The DCAs we were using got really quite complicated, and particularly just really, really useful. If you discover something, write it down. There's a big long list. Write down path definitions for clear URLs. You can start writing down editorial workflows and permissions for your content types and other text, other entities. Start defining views and how those views work. And of course, if you're migrating from another website, you need to write down how those migrations are happening. Is it manual? Is it automated? So the DCA starts to look like this. I'm not going to go through it. There's quite a lot here. You can see what we've done. You've got URLs, you've got workflows, permissions, and 3 views definitions here. And at the end, we're saying migration is automatically from existing news items. Other benefits. You get informed and confident planning, so it's really good for delivery managers or project managers. It allows balancing of ongoing research and design iterations against estimated implementation effort. What this means is, and it's a really subtle way of putting it, don't use your budget up during UX and design and leave 5 minutes for the developers. We've all been there as well. You can highlight early issues, which you can resolve with the client. It allows transitions to be really smooth between different teams. That also allows you to accurately resource allocations of different types. And you can reduce blockers by bringing in planning confidence. You can also identify other dependencies across phases. It also allows you to overlap phases. You don't necessarily need one phase to be completed for the next phase beginning. That just shortens timescales as well, even if it doesn't reduce effort. Deeper collaboration benefits. So this is the single biggest benefit, I think, of the DCA approach. It brings value to any project build. And these are felt by individuals, like us, within each team, design team, build team, across the different teams and the entire organisation. And it boosts client relationships. And not just for the current project, but for every project that follows. It improves inter-team collaboration, enables skill sharing and knowledge transfer. I knew nothing about UX when I started working on this sort of way, but now I know a lot about UX, a big proponent. And it deepens everybody's Drupal understanding. You're upskilling UX and you're upskilling your design teams on how Drupal works. Blurb. Suture is a full digital experience and Drupal development agency. It's much easier to collaborate when you're working in the same company. Design hand grenades. There are some QR codes coming, so get your phones out. You can take a photograph of me as well. Journey's End. The DCA isn't bureaucracy. It's not a document for the sake of a document. I know Scrum and Agile talks about reducing documentation, but it's a productivity tool that plans for success by reinforcing the strengths of Drupal. And I think that's really key. So at UX phase, you realise the full potential of Drupal. During the design phase, you maximise your efficiency. During the build phase, you accelerate that build. And during the test phase, you're improving accuracy. You define early, you build faster, and you deliver better. This article is based on, this talk is based on an article I only finished last week. I've been writing it for about 3 months, so I just got around to finishing it. It's under zucha.com/insights. That QR code will take you straight to the article. You can see some cameras up. There we go. Please provide feedback for my talk so they invite me back next year. Thank you very much. Do we have any time for questions?
You prevented people going to the pub.
Yeah. There's my contact details at the end. I'm on the Zucha stand for most of tomorrow. If you want to come and talk about the idea, how you can expand it, how you can use it, whether you want to call it the DCA or some other thing, I don't care what you call it. It's the approach which I think brings huge benefits. So thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you get some benefit from it.